Hi folks, happy Friday to you. Welcome to the weekend once more. I trust that you've all been busy getting ready for the festivities next week and that you've managed to squeeze a bit of reading in during that time. Talking of reading, let's see what I've been reading this week. I read Boneshaker by Cherie, which is a sort of steampunk zombie mashup set in Gold Rush era Seattle, although a different one than our Seattle. And the titular Boneshaker was a big tunnelling device that was commissioned by the Russians, who were looking to mine gold in the ice in Alaska. And the crazy inventor that built it tests it under Seattle and releases some trapped gas, which becomes known as the blight. And if you breathe too much of the blight, it turns you into the undead. Fearing the spread of the undead and of the blight, a wall is built around Seattle to hem them all in. So this is a steampunk version of the 1800s. The dirigibles are the main transport. The Civil War is still in progress and has been for a long time, but it's very distant. And all of the action in the book is focused on Seattle and its immediate surroundings. The protagonists in Boneshaker are a mother, Briar, and her son, Zeke. And she is the wife of the crazy inventor who unleashed the blight, believed dead, but also the daughter of a well-regarded folk hero. Being a teen, the boy is restless and wants to know more about his father and their old home in Seattle, and he resolves to enter the city and explore, setting in motion a chain of events and adventures and misadventures as a result. To be honest, it is fairly routine stuff and possibly even young adult in tone, and it's a little bit predictable. Still, there were things to like. The steampunk Seattle was interesting and the author does some interesting things. For example, the compulsory steampunk leather goggles, like on the cover art here, have a distinct purpose. They're not just there for cosmetic purposes. They're required to shield the eyes from the blight. And they're also polarized to make the blight gas visible so it can be seen. I thought that the Seattle of this book was very interesting, and the netherworld, where the denizens of Seattle, those that still live, have built underground and in the upper levels of buildings to try to evade the undead and keep them blocked out. And there was a certain amount of mild peril. Quite a few people got deaded by the undead, and there was a lot of shooting and what have you, but I never really felt like anyone was in any true danger. And I don't think that I'll be rushing out to read the follow-on books, and there's at least 2 of those. It was okay, but no more than that. Next, I finished A Dying Earth by Vonda McIntyre, and in this book, Earth is essentially dead. We're in the far future, we assume. The Earth is a dusty, stormy desert by and large. Most people left on the Earth seem to live in one underground city known as the Centre. And the Centre is almost like a hive structure with concentric rings of caves or shacks around a central citadel. Most of humanity, it seems, is no longer on Earth, it's out in the stars in something called the Sphere, which seems to refer to a certain amount of colonized space. Misha is the main character, and she's an adolescent girl, and she's a trained thief, blessed with a telepathy, which is also a curse, as her abusive uncle uses it to control her via her much more powerful but mentally backward sister. Misha wants out, and the only way to be truly out and away from the connection with her sister is to find her way onto a spaceship and off Earth for good. This unwanted connection between Misha and her sister is mirrored in a raiding party with pseudo-Sibs, Sub 1 and Sub 2, who, it seems, were raised in some twisted experiment to force a psychic connection between them. The raiders have come so that Sub 1 and Sub 2 can take over the centre and rule, but things don't quite go according to plan. Jan Haraku is a young man who's hitched a ride with the raiders to bring the body of an old friend to Earth for burial. Jan serves as the narrator of the story, and there are frequent diary entries that help to flesh out the story and the background. The various psychic connections are unravelled and reformed and unravelled again in a quite a satisfying way as the tale progresses. Now, I enjoyed the world building, and there are some nice reveals about the exact nature of the centre, and I thought that Misha was a pretty good protagonist as well. I think I'm right in saying that The Exile Waiting was Vonda McIntyre's first novel, and I'm looking forward to reading more. I gather that the perhaps better known Dreamsnake is set on the same ruined Earth, but doesn't appear to share any of the characters or locations with the Exile Waiting. I really enjoyed it, it was good. Next came Kathani by Eric Brown. This was my first Eric Brown novel, but actually, whilst it is published as a novel, it's really a fix-up. It's cobbled together from short stories that were published separately over a period of time. But although it's a fix-up, it does gel together quite nicely. Eric Brown provides some interstitial text between each of the stories, some necessary glue to hold it together. And I thought that worked pretty well. The stories are all set in the same world, and Earth changed forever by the arrival one day of the Kathani and their onward stations, thousands of them spaced regularly around the world. The action in the book is all in Yorkshire, or nearly all in Yorkshire, centred on a village pub, The Fleece, with a rotating group of friends that meet for a pint or 3 on a regular basis during the week. In fact, there's an awful lot of beer drunk in this book. The Kathani have made humanity a compelling offer. Fit an implant, and when you die, we'll preserve your body and beam you up to a starship that will then take you to the Kathani homeworld to be fixed up, to be rejuvenated and re-educated. The dead then have a choice. They can either return home to Earth after 6 months, or they can go out to the stars and be ambassadors for the Kathani. When they've been rejuvenated after that 6-month period, they are still the same people, but they're younger, they're more vigorous, and much, much nicer than they were before. As a result of several years of this rejuvenation, crime is down, war has stopped, people are more engaged in fixing the world's problems. It's all golden, right? Well, kind of. Each of the stories, each of the vignettes in Kethani tells of a scenario involving this transformation and the ethical and family issues that it presents, and each is told from the perspective of one of the pub regulars. For example, what happens if your child is dying but one parent is opposed to the implants on religious grounds? Both parents must consent. What happens if the promise of eternal life erodes love itself? What relationship could possibly survive even the prospect of eternity? And what about suicide, the incidence of which has increased dramatically as people seek the benefits of the Kathani process? Is life on Earth even still of value? Is it worth striving? Who or what are the Kathani, and what do they want? Why are they intervening in our affairs? I really enjoyed the clash, or rather the gentle mingling of everyday village life with the alien, with the matter-of-fact Yorkshire folk getting on with their lives in this new reality. 20 years pass over the course of the book, and we get a good sense of how the world has changed through these little vignettes, these windows into life. I came to really like the narrator, Khalid, who provides all the interstitial texts, and his band of friends down the pub who do the narration of the stories. A number of people have told me that Helix is the next Eric Brown that I should seek out, and I'm now very keen to do just that. I've also just finished, literally moments ago, Monkey Planet by Pierre Boulle, which, as it says on the cover there, is the book that inspired the movie Planet of the Apes. And I was interested to know to what degree the original Charlton Heston movie kind of mirrored or aped the story in Monkey Planet. And the answer to that is, to a very large extent. I mean, I can't remember the movie that clearly. The premise is exactly the same. I'm not going to be too careful about avoiding spoilers. Surely you all know what the story of Planet of the Apes is by now. Some humans are off in a spaceship and they land on a planet which they believe to be orbiting the planet Betelgeuse, and they immediately find some humans. They can see evidence of towns and what have you as they come down, and they land in the middle of nowhere somewhere, and they immediately meet some humans. But these humans are behaving strangely. They're all naked, and they're all behaving like animals. They're not speaking, they're sort of shoving food in their mouth, they're fighting, what have you. And this is a bit discombobulating. But they're curious enough for one of the parties to make a connection with one of the rather attractive female human animals. And then all hell breaks loose as they appear to be hunted by what turns out to be, you guessed it, monkeys on horses with guns. There are chimpanzees, there are gorillas, there are orangutans, and they are shooting indiscriminately at the humans in like humans might at a pheasant shoot or something like that. And then some of the remaining humans that survive are herded into carts and taken off who knows where, including our main character, Ulysses, who is one of the scientists on the spaceship. He ends up being taken to a research center where he's held in a cell along with a bunch of the other humans, and the monkeys there express amazement when he starts trying to talk to them. Obviously they can't understand him, and they think he's just making garbling noises, but he proves himself to be intelligent over time, and they have to try to deal with that. Anyway, the story progresses from there, and the same relationship that you see in the movie between Ulysses and the two chimpanzee scientists progresses, and there are revelations. The evolution and history of the intelligent monkeys on this planet sort of becomes clear. There isn't the same reveal at the very end of the sort of gut punch reveal at the end that there is at the end of the Charlton Heston movie with the scene on the beach, but something similar sort of happens in this book. It's a swift read, 170 odd pages, and I blew through it pretty fast. I listened to most of it on audiobook and then finished it up in actual book form just in the last 10 minutes or so before I started recording this. So it was fun. It was have I been holding that upside down the entire time? I hope not. It was a fun read. The book holds up at least as well as the movie, as the original movie. It was entertaining stuff. Briefly then, channel stuff. Subs are at 3,904, which is up 77 on last week, which is a really good week. And I wonder now, can we get to 4,000 by the end of the year? So do tell all of your friends. If you're one of those 77, or if you've stumbled drunkenly upon my channel for the first time today, then a huge welcome to you. My name's John, and I focus on collecting, reading, and chatting about science fiction books, old and new. Comment of the week this week was from Walter, and we had a little chat about Golank's yellow. We agree on finding the particular shade of yellow on the spines of the science fiction masterworks to be a turn-off. Bilious is what Walter called it. I do find it, I have a visceral reaction to that colour. I used to have a tree that flowered in exactly that colour, and I chopped it down. For some reason, I don't find the 70s era hardback yellow jackets by the same publisher to be off-putting. I think there's just a slightly different shade of yellow. Thank you to Walter for taking the time to leave a comment, and thank you to all of you that do the same each week. I really do enjoy it. Let's take a quick look at what was on the channel this week. On Sunday, there was a recap of all 139 books that I read in 2024. Strictly speaking, I still have a few more to add to that because we're not at the end of the year there, but I needed to record the video and get it out, so I'll mop those up in next year's video. In that video, I tier rank all 139 books. It is quite a long video. It's like an hour and a quarter, hour and 20 minutes, so it's definitely one to go get some snacks and make yourself comfortable for before sitting down to watch. But I enjoyed making it. I hope you enjoy watching it if you haven't already. On Thursday, just yesterday, there was a look at the science fiction series that I plan to read next year, and that's either continue to read, start reading, or finish reading, and in a couple of cases, even a reread if I have the time. I won't get to all of them, as I said in that video. It's not really a project plan, a prescriptive list that I must read. It is more a menu of options with some level of priority in each of the 4 subsections. So have a look at that, see if there's anything that you fancy, and if there's any science fiction series that you think I ought to read that I haven't mentioned in that video, then do let me know. It's possible that I have already read them, but no harm in letting me know. On the book buying front, once again, it's somewhat thin on the ground. I did receive a Broken Binding subscription this week. It's a nice hardcover copy of a book. And I also received, very nicely today, a gift from a viewer. And I've placed a couple of orders, some of which will take some weeks to arrive. And of course, I'm expecting a little influx for Christmas. My to-be-hauled pile currently stands at an uncharacteristically modest 8 books, which is really quite restrained for me at this point in the month. Let's take a look ahead at what's coming on the channel. In theory, I'm winding down now for the Christmas break, but in fact, there will be a couple of things to look forward to. On Sunday, I should be taking a closer look at my top 15 science fiction reads of 2024. And then the following Sunday, I will be doing my usual choosing of a TBR for January. And then in early January, there will be a recap of December's reading. And note that there will not be a weekly update next week. On the 27th, I'll be busy doing family stuff. We'll have a whole crowd of people around and I won't have the chance to record a video. A little bit longer range, thinking about the new year. I am making good progress now on the notes for the hard science fiction video. And what I think I'm going to do with that one, obviously there'll be a bit on the books, but I'm going to focus more on the science in the books. We'll see. We're going to go from reasonably sort of entry level, but still hard science fiction, hard as in accurate, and then to blow your mind, bleeding edge physics on the other end, and you can imagine who that might include. What will I be reading? Well, I only have 3 books left on my planned TBR for December, so I'm feeling pretty confident I'm going to get through them all, time allowing, in the run-up to Christmas and the festivities and what have you. I've got The Best of Cordwainer Smith in this nice Valentine edition. This will be my first Cordwainer Smith reading experience and I'm looking forward to it. It's short stories. And then again with the short stories, Mirror Shades, which is a cyberpunk compilation, a couple of which I believe I've already read because I've read them in Burning Chrome. Yeah, there's a William Gibson in there, the Gernsback Continuum, that I read because it's also in Burning Chrome. And then finally, for December, I have the 4th of the Wayfarer books, The Galaxy and the Ground Within. And whilst this is kind of very cozy science fiction, it's like a warm hug is how I described the first one. And as a 50-something middle-aged, middle-class man, I probably shouldn't be enjoying it as much as I am, but I've largely enjoyed the 3 that I've read. The third one was not as good as the first 2, but I'm looking forward to reading this. It'll be an easy read, just exactly the sort of thing to read when you're in some sort of food coma over the Christmas holidays. 3 books with, 10 or 11 days to go of December is pretty light work, and since I'm off work now until well after the new year, I should have plenty of time to read stuff, so I'm probably going to add a ski off piece a little bit and add 1 or 2 books as I go, and I shall just see what takes my fancy. As usual, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful Christmas if that's the thing that you do, and I will see you soon. Bye bye.